Hello everyone and welcome back to Just Finish Coding. In this new series, you will learn how to use sprites in Pygame in order to make your game faster and more efficient. We'll be applying these concepts to a fairly simple clicker game, but once you start to see the potential, you should be able to do the same in more complicated games as well. So with that out of the way, let's get right into our code. So I'll be doing all my coding in the PyCharm offline editor, but just so that you know, you can use idle for this as well. Either way, you just need to make sure that these three images are linked within the same directory, and in case you haven't downloaded them yet, the link is in the description in the form of a Google Drive attachment. So to start off our code, I first need to import two modules, and those two modules are Pygame and random. So importing Pygame and random is pretty simple. We just need to type in this command. But in addition to doing this, I'm going to do one additional thing, which is going to be importing Pygame as P. And what this is going to do is give me a little bit of convenience while typing out my code. So instead of doing pygame dot something, I can just say p dot something instead, which is going to save us a lot of time. So after you have these two lines of code, I'm going to start by writing my first class before I even get into the inits. And that class is going to be called the mouse clicker. So I'm going to type in class mouse clicker, and this has an inheritance. So we're not just going to type an object within these two parentheses. Instead of doing that, what we'll do is type in p.sprite.Sprite, and this is the class that we'll be inheriting from. And before I move on, I have to tell you right here that for this video to make sense and for the subsequent video in this series, you will need to have a foundational understanding of Pygame. And in case you don't, I would recommend you check out my mini course that I did a few weeks ago, and I will leave a link for you right here. Now, as always with a normal class, we will have the def__init under method, and here I'm going to add in an additional parameter which is going to be image. I'll get into what sprites are in a minute, just copy me for now. After this, you need to have one pretty interesting command in addition to the normal, this dot self dot something equals something else, and that is the super init command, and this is to initialize the sprite module as well. So you can just type in super parentheses and then init, and this will be enough to initialize the sprite class. And this may look like an ugly line of code, but it's really necessary and extremely useful. So just type that in, and after that I'm going to say self.image is equal to p.image.load, and I'm just going to type in image right here because we will be entering the image path when we are initializing the object, and thus this image is going to have that path. So after this, I'll be rescaling the image, and this is useful because I don't want the image to be too big, which it currently is. So for example, if I opened up the shooter.png in my editor itself, you can see that it has a pretty big size, and I'm going to assume for the sake of this video that it is a perfect square, and although it's not a perfect square, it is almost one. So I'm going to say self.image is p.transform.scale, and the scale that I'll be using is going to be 40,40. But before we type in the scale, we first need to type in the surface, which we will be doing in, and that's self.image, and the width and height, like I mentioned, is going to be 40,40. So once you have this in place, now it's important to understand what a sprite actually is. So sprite is simply an object which interacts with our game. So for example, if you've ever played the Super Mario Brothers platformer game, then Mario would be a sprite, so would the enemies, the coins would be sprite, and also the coins would be sprites, and also the pipe. So a sprite in coding terms has an image, but it also has one thing in addition to an image, and that is a rectangle. So whenever we have a class which is going to have sprite objects, then we will need to make sure that within the init method, we will have a rectangle as well. And in sprites, you have to manually declare the rectangle, and it doesn't by default take the one with the boundary. So to do that, it's fairly simple. All you have to type in is self.image is equal to, or rather you just need to type in self.rect is equal to self.image.getRect. And this getRect command is extremely useful, and we can just use this to get the rectangle all the time. Now in this video, I will not be using mask for pixel perfect collision. So if you want to understand the collision which will take place, everything within this particular rectangle will be detected as a collision. So even if the object collided here, for example, which is a transparent area, you will have that declared as a collision. And that is as of now. If you use mask, which I teach you to do in this video right here, and I'll leave a card, then you will be able to edit this in such a way that you will have pixel perfect collision. But I'm not going to get into that right now, and instead I'm going to continue with the code right here within our mouse clicker. So each sprite, in addition to having this image and rect, also needs to have one particular command, and that is the update command. So as of now, you can just type in def underscore update, sorry, not underscore, def space update. And here you can see that we have self followed by args. And if you notice carefully, in your PyCharm editor, there will be something that's going to pop up right here. And if you click this, you should go into the sprite module itself, and you can see that sprite module has an update method by default. And essentially we're overriding that method, and you'll see the part of this method when it comes to, sprite groups, which we will be getting to in this video itself. But as of now, just copy me and you'll see where this is starting to go. And another thing is that I said that the that update wasn't a method. I said it was something else. It is a method, and we can call that for all objects in that group. So it's a lot more concise than calling it individually. Anyway, I'm going to continue this, and I just want the mouse to go wherever my mouse pointer is, and it's a shooter or a crosshair if you want to call it. And we'll just go wherever the mouse pointer is. And since I wanted to go to the center, I can use the self.rect.center command, and the center command just makes it a lot easier. And in case I want a different part of the rectangle, I can just access it with one of the commands like top right, top left, or center, and so on. So I'm going to say self.rect.center, and we need to give it a tuple in order to actually give it an instruction. So for that, I'm just going to type in p.mouse.getPos, and this by default is going to return the x and y values, which is a tuple. So this is going to be it for our update method, and now I'm going to go on and do a bit of initialization. So I'm going to say p.init, which is some pretty standard stuff. And after this, I will be setting the display, and I'm going to go ahead with a 480p display. So I'm going to say win is equal to p.display.setMode, and here we need to just type in the values within a tuple. So I'm going to say 720, 480, a classic 480p display. I'm also going to be setting the caption. So p.display.setCaption is not equal to, but we can just type in the title right here. And I'm going to call this sprites, but you can call it whatever you want. And once you have this in place, now I'm going to declare the clock. So I'm going to say clock is equal to p.time.clock. And just so that you know, I'm not going to do it in this video, but our game is going to run at, I think, 120 frames per second. I think that should be pretty good for our game. And now I'm going to declare the object, or rather create an object, and I'm going to call this object mouse. And we will be having just one object for this particular class. So you can just type in mouse equal mouse clicker, and the address of the image is going to be shooter.png, and that would pretty much be all you need for actually creating an object. And like I mentioned earlier, each object alone is not enough to create an output within our main loop. We need a group as well, and you'll understand this in the next video where I'll be coding in the main loop. But as of now, just type in mouse group is equal to p.sprite.group, and this group we can just add this particular mouse to that group. So you can say mouse group dot add and follow that up with a parentheses and mouse inside it. And I'm going to end this video right here. In the next video, you'll start to see the main loop and some actual output, because as of now, if we hit run, you wouldn't be able to see anything and the program would terminate pretty quickly. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.